This is a video blog for Thursday. In today's topic, I want to talk a little bit about how our theology should definitely affect our ministries. Many people say, hey, I'm not interested in theology. I'm just interested in ministry and the practice of the ministries that we have in our church. Well, listen, if you have practice without theology, all you have is social work. But if you have practice married with your theology, you have true worship. Grace Bible Church, you need to think about theology this way. Theology should run through our lives like water runs through a pipe into everything that we do. This morning, I want you to consider this simple verse out of the prologue of John, chapter 1, verse 14, where John says, speaking of Christ, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw His glory. There are two things we see in this passage as it relates to how our theology should lead to practice. You see, ministry should be like what we see in verse 14 because of what Jesus did. If we really think about what Jesus did in His incarnation and coming to this earth and serving us, we have the whole of the Christian experience and the Christian mission. Jesus sacrificed Himself. He came to give of Himself. He came to die for us, to win the lost, and to see the lost matured for the glory of God. Is that not the mission of the church now as His body on this earth? Yes. We are His hands and feet. We are incarnationally Jesus to other people. So our theology, as we consider the Christology of verse 14, that the Son of God, the infinite one, became finite. The eternal one stepped into time. The invisible one became visible. All of that should remind us that our ministry is to be incarnational as well. We need to be all things to all people so we might win some to Christ. Paul said this in 1 Corinthians 9 when he talked about his liberties. He says, I'm willing to let go of my liberties so that others might come to Christ. I'll be like the Jew if I need to be like the Jew, or the Greek, or the Gentile, so some may become saved. Grace Bible Church ministry is to be incarnational. We need to become like those around us, not jettisoning the truth or adopting sin, but we need to say and reach others by being like them in the sense of gaining a relationship with them, gaining an opportunity with them so that we can teach the truth of Jesus Christ. The second thing I want you to consider about verse 14 is that He dwelt among us. This teaches us that ministry is sacrificial. Jesus, who was rich, Paul says, became poor. Are we willing to be sacrificial in ministry? Does the theological truths about Christ leaving the glories of heaven to come to this earth affect how we live? Does it drive our sacrifice for ministry? Or are we just focused on our little box, in our little world, in our little schedules? Or do we see our lives in a bigger way, saved to be used by God? You see, Grace Bible Church, our theology should drive how we live. And I pray as you look to verse 14 and can just consider the Christology there and how that Christology reaches into our lives and should say, hey, how are you serving like Jesus today? I pray this has been an encouragement to you. We'll see you Sunday morning. God bless.